Calamar with Hear It in the Mix, and today I'm going to show you how you can use your DAW and your Midi controller to create your own guitar effects. We're going to do a DIY tribute to the Coopersound's Third Man Records amazing guitar pedal called the Triplegraph that has a momentary and toggle switch for low octave, high octave, a kill switch, and an effects loop. So let's get right into it. So my friend recently had me listen to his guitar pedal. It's an amazing pedal by Caroline Guitar Company, and it's called like the Wave Cannon Distorter. And I thought, wow, that thing is awesome. I want it. Then I looked at the price. I thought, it's a little out of my budget right now. Maybe I can recreate this with Reaper, which is my DAW of choice right now, and Midi. And meanwhile, I could learn a couple of new things for these videos. Right along the same time, I saw on Andy Demos a really great demonstration on the Triplegraph, which is the pedal by Jack White and Coopersound, and it has a latching and momentary controls for low octave, high octave. It's got a kill switch and it's got an effects loop. And I thought, wow, that is really awesome. Maybe I can try to recreate that because, on, off with some relatively simple effects, not that hard to do. Let's try it. Maybe I could figure this out in about an hour. Well, about 10 hours later of work and a lot of gotchas, I figured out something pretty cool that I think I'd like to share. I'm no Reaper expert, and definitely in the comments, I would love some advice and tips on other ways you could maybe do this. I could share that in an upcoming video too, but I think what I did is worth sharing, and I think you're going to dig it. So let's take a look, and let me know in the comments if there's other effects you'd like to try, or if you got any other questions. All right, let's do this thing. So what we have here is an empty project. The only thing you're seeing there is my narration track, and that's just so that it gets picked up by my video recorder. And make sure that you've installed Realearn and that you have the track wiring diagram set up as well. I have links in the comments for all of that. And so first thing I'm going to do is add a guitar track. So new track. This is going to be the clean guitar, and I'm going to add fuzz to it. So rather than keep playing my guitar here, I'm just going to use our media selector and grab a track that I recorded earlier today. Let's drop that right in there, and we can hear that track. So that was the guitar. That's my Fender offset telly with JBE pickups running straight into my Axe.io Solo, right into my 2009, that's right, 2009 MacBook Pro, right into Reaper. So that's what you heard there. Play it one more time for you. All right, cool. So that's that. Let's go back to the track wiring diagram. And then now let's start adding what we need here. So there's a lot of different ways you could probably set this up. But we're going to use a number of tracks because in Reaper, tracks are everything. And we can connect them and wire them any way we want. And the wiring diagram, the track wiring, just makes it all so much easier. And first thing I'm going to do is before the effect, basically as our pre, we're going to have a fuzz effect. So I'm just going to add that right now. I have that actually preset right here. So let's hear how that sounds. Okay. All right, great. So now we have some fuzz. And then while we're here, we're going to go ahead and add Realearn. And we're going to use this for all of it. And Realearn is basically a MIDI instrument that helps Reaper, and it has a number of features that just aren't in Reaper's default MIDI mapping tools. So, you can add a mapping, and it has a way. It's very easy to learn where the MIDI is coming from and what you want to trigger inside of the DAW. So Let's go ahead now and talk about all these different tracks we're going to add, right? So the Triplegraph by Coopersound has a low octave, a high octave, and then a third switch, which is for a kill and for an effects loop. And it can do toggle. Earlier I called it latching. That's not right. Anyway, you can toggle, which would be an on-off. So you click, it turns it on. You click, it turns it off. And then you can also do momentary, which is actually super cool, which is where it turns on the effect only while your foot is on it. So you press, you hold, let go, right? So we want those running in parallel, not in series. We don't want the low octave running into the high octave and affecting one another, right? So let's add that low octave effect. This is a free plugin by Aegean Music. So we have our low octave, 100% wet. Then we're going to add our effects loop. It's also our kill switch. And we're going to add a couple of effects to that. I really like the Sound Toys Echo Boy, as well as the Sound Toys Filter Freak. I added those backwards, so we'll just switch them in the chain, in the signal path. Pick a couple of defaults here. We're going to add dirty mids, and for Echo Boy, we're going to go with a DM2. All right. And we're going to set our mix to 100% wet. And over here with the Filter Freak, also 100% wet. Now let's add our high octave. We're going to change that to plus 12 semitones, so that's up one entire octave. Just double check that for a sec. Okay, great. And last but not least, we have our amp and cab sims. And for that, we're going to use Blue Cat's free amp. That's my classic clean dirty, and I'm going to use the Lepu impulse response already preset with a couple of impulse responses on the left and the right. Okay, great. So now let's take a look at the wiring diagram. So I'm going to close all of that so you can see it a little bit better. And the thing with this effect that's really cool is that it actually has 3 different things happening in parallel. And if you were going to try to do this setup with just opening one effect and selecting 3 or 4 or 5 different things to add here, they would be feeding into each other, and the signal chain would have, you know, like your low octave being processed by your high octave, etc. And that's not what we're going for. What we want to do is set up all these effects in parallel. So to do that, the track wiring diagram makes it really pretty easy. So first thing we're going to do is turn off the master. As you can see here, master, all of these tracks are running to master. We don't want to do that. We're going to remove master for all of them except for the amp. And then we're going to run our guitar into each of these. It's going to provide the signal, basically, if you're thinking about it as like a synthesizer. We're going to add the generator from the clean guitar plus fuzz here to our low octave, and then we're going to add it for the effects loop, and we're going to add it to the high octave, and then each of those are going to go into the amp, right? So if we were going to just add, for example, the clean guitar first, we're going to add that over here as a send, right? Now, what we'll notice here is the sends have 3 different options: post fader, pre-fader, pre-effects. And in this case here, we're going to go with pre-fader. We're basically getting the signal with the effect, and we're going to be able to control it with the fader of the effects loop channel there, track, right? So we have that set up right there. I'm going to turn down the guitar a little bit. All right, and then I'm going to go ahead and add this post fader over here. So let's just double check. That's post fader. All right. So what that means is now I have the effect. I have the guitar with fuzz going into my kill switch effects loop, which is then going into the amp. And I'm going to control all of that with the amp. So if I did that correctly when I hit play now, I'm going to turn off the effect. Let's do it again. All right, there you go. So we have our effect and we have our guitar. Now we're going to just wire up the low octave and the high octave the same way. And you'll understand a little more about why I made the choices I did with the faders when we get to the MIDI section of this. So let's go ahead and do that.
Post fader. What to do? Pre-fader. Pre-fader. Pre-fader.
And now post fader. Here we go. Low octave post fader. Effects loop post fader. And high octave post fader. Cool. So I'm going to mute these. We can hear each one of them. Make sure we did it right. Now that we have that all wired up the way we need it, now we can start talking about the MIDI. So let's open back up our clean guitar, our source guitar really, right? And let's look at Realearn. So Realearn has these mappings that you can add, and we're going to edit this first one. And what we're going to be doing is working with this along with our MIDI controller, right? So in this case, I'm using the Boss MS-3 Looper Multi-Effects unit, which is great. I can use it with its internal Boss effects, which are awesome. I can use external pedals if I want to bring in some really nice overdrive or distortion of some sort. And I can do MIDI. And today I don't even have it plugged into my guitar. I'm purely using it as a MIDI controller. So you can see here, every MIDI controller is a little bit different. So just really briefly, I have this doing, momentary for the first 3 pedals and then a toggle. And I'm actually going to cheat. I'm not going to make a triple graph. This is going to be a quad graph. So it's got low, kill, high, and effects. The other thing that's important here to know is each of these are mapped to a control code. So they're going to be number 10, 11, 12, 13, and you'll see that inside of Reaper. So I'm going to close this because my old MacBook 2009 can barely handle all this stuff happening at the same time here. So let's just close. We don't need to have that open at all. So let's add our first mapping now that we saw how things work over on the MS-3. So first thing we're going to do is add the low octave. So this is 100% low octave effect. And we want to make sure that the MIDI control input on Realearn is set to the Boss MS-3. And it's as easy as clicking learn and then stepping on the pedal that you want. There it is. CC10, that's good to go. Then we're going to add track send volume, and we're going to use the low octave amp camp simulator. And the value here, you see it's 0 right now. When you step on the pedal, it goes full. So there you have it. And my shoe is being weird. Sorry about that. Okay, good. So now let's see if it's all working the way it should. So we got our guitar with fuzz, and you shouldn't hear anything until I step on the pedal because I don't want anything else playing, right? So here we go. My foot is off the pedal right now. You can see it's going to go over the wave, and I'm going to hit it. There it goes. So that's the low octave. All right, great. Now let's do the same thing for the high octave. I'm going to add a mapping, edit, high octave. We're going to learn it. Good. Here we go. Boop. There it is. 12. And we go with send volume. And the track is the high octave. And same thing. So let's make sure it's working. Looks good. Okay. Excellent. And now we can, we're going to leave. Well, let's go ahead and unmute all three of them, because now we're going to have just a clean signal. And what you're going to hear is a duet of the low octave or the high octave with just the fuzz effect. And I turned off the delay in the filter. So there you could hear I even did all three at the same time in unison. All right, cool. All right, great. Now, last but not least, we're going to add, well, not last and not least, we're going to just add the effects loop. Sorry, the kill switch. Here we go. So add one more mapping here. We're going to edit this. And so we're going to learn it. Okay, great. So you can see there, 11. And now this one is going to be the opposite. We got the track send volume. We got the kill switch. And now what we want to do is have it reversed. So we want no signal. And then when we, so usually the signal is all the way there. We're going to change the max so that it doesn't go full volume on the fader there. So. And actually, it's sort of the reverse of what you might think. So here we go. Let me just adjust this. Okay, there we go. And I'm going to play it just to double check. I'm going to increase that minimum, the minimum. All right, here we go. And I have that reverse, which is so important here for this. Let's see what we got. So I'm going to mute the low octave. Well, we don't need to. We're just going to play it. And what's going to happen is the kill switch should kill my my fuzz signal. All right, so there it is. Let me get a part of a track that would be more interesting, where you'd hear that effect instead of it seeming like something is broken. So we're going to go to the end here, play that, and then we're going to go. All right, I didn't execute that all so well, but because my foot keeps sliding off the thing here, but there it is, right? You get the idea. It's pretty quick. It triggers pretty much instantaneously, and it kills the signal. And you could maybe have that along with one of the octaves and do a number of different cool things with fuzz. So we have almost everything here. Now we're going to add our fourth pedal, because ours is a quad graph, and we're going to add the mappings for that. So we're going to add two of them. I'm going to name that third one so we don't forget what it was. That's our kill switch. It's got the reversed toggle on there. And then for those other two bad boys, here we go. This is the toggle for the echo. We're going to learn that. All right, that's number 13. And now for this, we're actually going to use the track effects. The track is the effects loop. The effect is the echo boy. And the parameter is the bypass. Now, usually, which means if you step on the pedal, it's going to bypass the effect. And I want the opposite. So again, we need to click reverse on this, right? So now when we click the pedal, the effect is turned on. And we can see that when I bring in the effect. I go to the Echo Boy. Let me just get it ready. There we go. So now it's bypassed, and then when I click on my pedal, it turns on the echo, right? So let me just do the same thing for the other effect. Now in this case, we are still using the same pedal. So we learn, and it'll be 13, just like the other one was. All right, great. Track effects parameter. This is going to be the effects loop, and it's the filter freak, and bypass, and reverse. Okay, great. Now, when I use the pedal, it turns on the effect. So here we go. We got the guitar going with our effect, without effects. And there you have it with the effect and the kill switch. All right, great. I'm actually going to add something with a little more delay, analog. Okay, great. Keep that wet signal so it's 100% wet when we turn it on. Okay, cool. So if we hear that again. All right, cool. All right, so everything is on and working. Cool. We can close that out. So we have all of our effects all set up. We have our pedals all ready to go. The last thing I would like to do here usually is add one more track. We're going to call this our quadgraph pedal, quadgraph guitar, and take advantage of Reaper's folders. Put at the top here. Now, the entire suite of tracks are wrapped by this, and now I can control it with one fader. So hit play. There you go. Cool. And that is pretty much it for what we got here today. I hope you enjoyed it. All of the gear that I used, as well as instructions for links for downloading Reaper and the other plugins that you need for making this all work out, are in the comments. Please, if you enjoyed the video, click subscribe so that you can get notifications from YouTube. I hope you enjoyed this, and please leave a comment if there are other effects that you'd like to see recreated using Reaper, or if you have comments and suggestions for other ways you could do this with Reaper, because I know there's just so many different ways you can do things. It's pretty cool. I'm always learning.